Hello, it is July 20th, 2018, and I am reading from the July 2018 O&P Edge magazine. It's a very interesting article about this gentleman has osseointegration changes the game, is the name of the. So he's got an osseointegration prosthesis. This is written by Maria St. Louis-Sanchez. Chris Roll's life isn't that much different now than before his leg was amputated above the knee 8 years ago. He can scramble over rocks when he's fly fishing. He can walk on the beach. And most important to him, he says he can sit and cross his legs. Even donning and doffing his new prosthesis is easier. It takes about 30 seconds, and I'm off to the races, he says. This new lifestyle for the former police officer is a result of osseointegration, an surgical procedure that implants a rod into the residual limb on which the user's prosthesis is attached. Rolls underwent a transfemoral amputation after a 3-year battle with an infection in his knee. Following replacement surgery. I had knee replacement surgery 7 times, and the infection kept attacking that joint, Rolls says. They couldn't figure it out. It became a soft tissue injury issue because they couldn't open the tissue anymore after so many surgeries. He says his physician fought to save the leg, but after years of struggling, they both decided amputation would be best. After that tough decision, Rolls had to learn how to adjust to his new prosthetic leg. Although the infection never returned, he soon found he couldn't enjoy his former lifestyle. Knee surgery on his other leg and a previous back surgery often resulted in a gait that never felt right to him. I had a good prosthesis, but no matter what device I got, the gait was just off. The main problem, however, was his socket. He could never keep suction the way he needed. I would lose suction in the socket, he says. I'd be walking, and all of a sudden my leg would be 3 feet behind me, and I'd fall down. After years of trying to make it work, he began cutting back on his use of his prosthesis. It was often easier to get by without it, he says. He initially met his future surgeon, Daniel Allison, MD, to discuss issues he had with his intact knee. It was Allison who suggested osseointegration surgery. I said, let's go for it, Roll said of the procedure. Since Roll was hurt on the job and had workman's comp, he has lifetime medical coverage for his knees and back, coverage that paid for the surgery and new devices. Osseointegration is relatively new in the United States, but has been used for many years in Australia, Sweden, and Germany. In July 2015, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the humanitarian use of the procedure for patients with transfemoral amputations. Rolls was the first patient in Southern California to undergo the procedure, and Allison had to seek FDA approval for the operation. Surgeons are still studying the best system for the procedure, but so far, the one most widely researched and the only one approved by the FDA is called Osseoanchored Prosthesis for the rehabilitation of amputees, O.P.R.A. With the O.P.R.A. system, patients have 2 surgeries before they can use their prosthetic device. In the first surgery, a hollow tube is inserted into the bone of the residual limb. Then, the patient must wait several months before bearing weight on the leg, with the idea that with time the bone will attach to the tube. After that, a second surgery fits a rod inside the tube that will connect the bone to the prosthetic device. Roll says he was on crutches for 5 months before he had his second surgery. After years of discomfort with his socket, he says, it was worth the wait. I can take my prosthesis off, and in 30 seconds, I can take my prosthesis off and on in 30 seconds. This is fantastic, he says. It gives me much more mobility. Not only that, but he says he trusts his new configuration more than his former socket system. My wife and I are expecting our first grandchild, so I'm on a step stool and ladder painting, and I don't think I would have trusted the socket system to do that. I know this thing is totally attached to my leg, and it won't fall off. Rolls isn't the only one who has had to get used to the new technology. His physical therapist, Vicki Graham, PT, DPT, OCS, NCS, says she had to study the procedure and change her previous methods to be able to best help Rolls. This is new to all of us, but we were all on the same page, said Graham. I was familiar with the procedure, but I hadn't expected a patient so soon. Soon she found she had to adjust some of her therapeutic techniques to fit Rolls. I hadn't realized how much I had a socket-specific training protocol, she says. I had to retool my training techniques a little bit, but it made it easier, not harder. The first eye-opener for her came when she asked Rolls to sit on a mat. She normally asks patients to keep their devices on for the mat exercises because it takes too long to don and doff them. Rolls had already removed the prosthesis by the time Graham started to ask him to keep it on. I thought, wow, this is really a whole new level, she says. Because of the Osseointegrated prosthetic system he uses, Graham says Rolls was able to catch on quickly. He could really feel the ground up through his leg in a way that is typically much harder for my patients to experience, she says. Rolls was fitted with the Osseo's Rheo Knee XC and ProFlex foot, a combination that is ideal for people who have undergone osseointegrations, says Meredith Gonzalez, Area Manager of Prosthetics for O.P.R.A. They're in Foothill Ranch, California. Rolls' prosthetist connected the knee and the foot to the adapter cemented into Rolls' femur, and then completed standard alignment and automatic knee programming to customize the knee to his walking style. Gonzalez says basically the same process that a traditional socket suspension amputee would go through, she says. The Rheo Knee XC automatically adapts and adjusts to different conditions and activities with the ProFlex foot has 27 degrees of ankle motion, says Russ Marable, Product Marketing Manager for O.P.R.A. Americas. Having a smooth knee and foot is important for osseointegration patients, he says. In traditional socket suspension, you usually have a soft silicone cushion between the hard socket and amputee's limb, he says. Osseointegration patients are exquisitely sensitive to impact on their limb since the prosthesis is directly connected to their bone. They typically want a leg that is both dynamic and smooth, not hard and bone jarring. Graham says she helped assess Rowell's with an older knee and then with the newer proposed Rheo Knee XC so they could get it approved by his insurance. I did repeated work with the old knee and the new knee, and it was such a dramatic difference, she says. They spent so much time on the surgery that the price of a new knee and foot was a drop in the bucket. When Rolls received the new device, he says it took his prosthetist about 20 minutes to adjust for his height. Then it was snapped in and hasn't given him any trouble since. The main care necessary for his residual limb with the osteo-integrated implant is keeping it clean with peroxide and betadine daily. The connection means he will have a semi-open wound on his leg for the rest of his life, which can be prone to infection if he's not careful. I might have to do this for the rest of my life, but it's well worth it, he says. While it has been a good solution for Rolls, experts caution that osseointegration is not for everyone. Patients with diabetes and neurovascular disease tend to have compromised immune systems or vascular problems that wouldn't make it a good decision for the time being. The best candidates for osseointegration are those who don't have those issues and who have who may have struggled with sockets for a while, Graham says. The first people who get this surgery will be those who have had multiple failures with sockets over the years, she says. Despite skilled and wonderful prosthetists, some legs are just tricky, through no fault of anyone. It's obvious, not for every patient. We still have traditional sockets, but I think it's a game changer for a lot of patients.